Wrestling.
No.
So
what are you starting off with?
I don't know. This is Jared's podcast today. No, I have no idea. No, this is Jared's.
If you guys want to
you're running this shit. You're running this shit. You are running it.
Bring up some pictures a while, and then
of my dick.
Both of you bring up some pictures.
Just gonna say that.
When I got pictures of my phone, they're not wrestlers.
Both of our dicks, or just like both bring up pictures of my dick.
He
has pictures of my dick, and I have pictures of my dick.
Or we got pictures of the same dicks because like we had that same website the other day.
Why don't I have those pictures?
You can hear it. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That was dope.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the We Like Wrestling podcast. We have a special guest today, my roommate Nate. He's not.
Cheers. Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Thanks.
He's not really a wrestling fan, so this is going to be an interesting episode.
An outsider's perspective, and not a Hall or Nash.
Without a what?
So
see, we started off good already.
Two guys, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. They're called the Outsiders together. So Nate knows a little bit, not much. I know you mentioned Rey Mysterio, Undertaker.
I played like 2008 SmackDown versus Raw.
2008 didn't have a SmackDown versus Raw. It was.
I feel like
it was the GM mode, wasn't it?
No,
they stopped after like 2010 for SmackDown versus Raw.
Well, anyway, I just played Rey Mysterio, and I know Batista obviously because now he's an actor. Obviously, The Rock.
No, he's not. He's not an actor.
I think he did pretty well.
He doesn't even say lines.
Why is Gamora? You know that's the best line.
No, I don't even. I've never seen a single Marvel movie.
Oh, well, then see, you didn't know.
Oh, that's not true.
Deadpool.
Yeah, Deadpool. I've seen one Marvel movie. Deadpool.
So we're gonna play a little game here. So what do you know about wrestling? Like the very little that you know, what would you say?
Guys or girls getting extremely tight leather clothing.
That's not leather. That would be terrible.
Spandex or whatever you want to call it. There you go. Yeah, and then they try to pin each other down.
Sometimes.
It's very storytelling.
Oh.
So
I was going to go with homoerotic, but it's either way.
In amateur wrestling, you can win a match by pinning or submission, right?
Yeah.
Pro wrestling is similar. You have a 3 count, or you can make your opponent tap out. There's different moves, submissions. So the main moves that these guys use are called their finishers. So like for John Cena, it would be the attitude adjustment. Rey Mysterio would be that thing with the ropes that you were talking about.
Yeah, it really flips out.
619, yeah.
The thing with the ropes.
He didn't know what it was called. So we're going to play a little game. We're going to show you some pictures, and you're going to try to guess what their name is or what their character would be, and we'll see how that goes.
It's like that video where it's like, guess that Pikachu. It's called Fairy. Fuck! You ever see that video?
Why would you guess the Pikachu? Pikachu's already the Pokemon. You guess that Pokemon.
You know what I meant.
Yeah, I've seen that. All right, here's my first one. It looks dope, right?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So that's from what, the 80s, 90s?
90s.
90s.
WCW. He is very inspired by Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck. I don't know.
So, is he a good guy, bad guy? What is he?
Well, obviously he's a fucking bad guy. He's got skulls all over his fucking outfit. I don't know. Skull Man.
That's a good guess. He does
Yeah.
look like Skeletor.
Is he a good guy, bad guy?
Oh, he is a bad guy.
Oh, wow.
His name.
Good to guess that.
His name is Mortis.
Mortis.
Mortis, yeah.
That's a very Mortal Kombat look.
Yeah.
No, you got the fucking dope ass outfit, and your name is Mortis.
Yeah, Mortis.
Did they spend all their time thinking about the outfit instead of the name?
Yes.
A lot of times
There was nothing left in the budget for a name.
Speaking of nothing left in the budget.
Oh, jeez. I already know who this is.
Yeah.
Just by that, I know who it is.
Staying along the same theme.
Most expensive entrance
Yes.
as far as money.
When they come out to music and everything, it's called an entrance.
Right. Yeah,
They spent the most money.
$250,000 every
Yeah.
time.
on an entrance.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think it was
you
$250,000.
said every time.
I think it was like
Yeah.
50 grand.
Effects, the video, music.
But it's still a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
50 grand every time he comes to the ring.
He's not even like a world champion. He was basically a nobody.
Yeah.
so why are they spending all that money on?
Because they tried to make him somebody in the
So
first went.
is he a good guy or a bad guy?
I'd say he's a good guy.
So
He used to
That's
feud
true.
with that last guy I showed you.
That is true.
Oh, there you
So-
go.
Also very inspired by
He's the
Mortis.
SubZero version.
Yes.
Just don't like his hair.
yeah,
No, you won't like his wrestling either.
Yeah. So what would you call this guy? If you said, let's name him right now.
Can't use SubZero because we don't
it's
own
not
that.
not SubZero.
What's those things on his the silver there?
I don't
What's
really
that?
think they're anything. I think somebody just kind of like made some shapes. Kind of like a 10-year-old just started drawing shit.
I don't know. I mean, I would think it'd be like some extravagant name, but after the last one, I don't fucking know.
Go,
like,
so go based on SubZero.
Yes, he is. He was very
Something
Uh,
along those
Frost.
lines.
close.
Close, actually.
Close. You went close. Glacier.
Glacier freeze.
All the money, for his entrance,
Because
and it got him
glaciers are
nowhere.
slow. And that's what you want in a wrestling.
Got him nowhere. The fans didn't really care.
He couldn't
for him.
wrestle or talk.
So in the wrestling business, a good guy is called a baby face or face, and the bad guy is called a heel. So I have
baby face versus heel.
yes.
Yes.
Typically,
There's also
yes.
tweeners now that were in after the 90s and the Attitude Era. Stone Cold kind of defined a
So
tweener.
do you know who Stone Cold is?
Austin Stone Cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was a tweener where he wasn't a good guy, he wasn't a bad guy, he just
So
showed up
when
and kicked
when he-
ass.
The whole thing started with him as a bad guy. He was supposed to be like, you weren't supposed to like him, but he like beat up his boss every week.
And he was so
and
cool.
people realized, wait a minute, everybody in the world wants to do that, so they're going to cheer him because he beats up his boss every week, and that's what we all want to do. So
And
Right.
drank beer and gave middle fingers.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He was cool.
yeah, he wore like jean shorts and just came to the ring and hurt people and then left.
Nothing fancy about him at all.
And a very great opening song. Okay, I got one more.
Picked all the worst ones.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's the point.
You're kidding me. That's not.
He's
that's
a
not
professional wrestler, and that's what he wrestled in.
I don't know that he's a professional wrestler.
He's
Just
one of the
looks like
greatest
I
of all time.
downloaded the generic version of Goon or something.
But
That's all it looks like.
Well, Nate, this man's name is the Goon.
hey, you got that one right.
I'll give you a point for
There you
that.
go.
Oh man.
He was a jobber. He was nothing.
Back in the 80s and 90s especially, wrestling, kind of like it is today, was aimed more for entertainment purposes, kids, stuff like that. And they focused more on their gimmick. So a gimmick is what they dress in or what their character is. And
Every wrestler had to have a job back in the
yeah,
day.
so
Like he was a hockey player during the day and wrestler at night.
yeah,
Yes.
they had a trash guy.
Yeah, they all had.
And
Speaking of, he'll be at Allentown.
September 19th.
Yeah.
Duke.
All right,
Good
ready for the next one?
Yeah. Go ahead. Is that feathers he's looking at?
It is feathers that he's looking at.
Kind of looks like a bird.
Yeah, you're on the right track.
Was that his
You're on the right
his
track.
intention?
Yeah.
Yes.
That wasn't his intention. That was
Someone
WWF's
else's
intention.
Move that microphone away from you.
There you go.
There you go.
You can be like here.
Yeah.
You don't have to be here.
Hello. I'm gonna have to say parakeet man.
Kind of.
Is the Red Rooster.
I'm
his hair.
sorry. Come on. Like now introducing the
That's
red
exactly what he said.
He was going to be Mr. Perfect.
I think I don't know, man. I don't know if that's true.
So I don't really think he wrestled, but there was a guy that he was called the Gobbledygooker.
Yeah, he wrestled.
He was a turkey.
Hector Guerrero. Right?
Came out of a giant egg, and he had a turkey costume, and
Mm-hmm.
it was what was that around Thanksgiving time that he debuted?
Survivor Series.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the Undertaker.
Yeah,
That's the rumor.
Imagine that.
That's the rumor that it was going to be the Undertaker.
Well,
so you wouldn't see the
Dave
Undertaker.
Meltzer said it, then it's true.
Of course.
Yeah, you wouldn't have the Undertaker.
And the internet doesn't lie.
Yeah, well.
But I mean, like, that's what I'm talking about. You know, you have people like Rey Mysterio or the Undertaker, or like names that are actually like attraction, and then the Red Rooster.
Yep.
That's why he's not well known.
Mm-hmm.
The Undertaker's well known because
He hated every minute of that gimmick.
Okay, so then why didn't you change it?
sometimes you don't have that freedom.
Yeah, it's not.
So Vince McMahon runs WWE.
Right.
And a lot of times he controls who these guys portray. He controls their character. And if you say, well, I don't want to do that, there's the
Well, there's 50 other guys that will. All right, who's the guy in the middle?
It's so bad. Why is he wearing zebra prints? And he has horns? What is that?
Because he's cool, man. That was
Oh, that's your definition of cool?
Before your time, it was cool. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I know who it is.
Nate, I guarantee you know who this is.
How would I know?
Oh, you know.
don't do that to me.
That's Batista before the steroids.
Wow.
Oh. Zebra Devil. There you go.
That's a good name. No, that's Rey Mysterio.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Without the mask. That's good. He's your definition of cool, isn't he?
So
That's your bad guy, Rey Mysterio.
So
Yeah. No, actually, this is still face. This is Filthy Animals.
Oh,
Face.
okay.
Yeah.
So he was able to change, right?
That was
Obviously.
the WCW, and they asked him to change.
Yeah. They thought his thing was getting stale.
Because they were selling 50 masks a night to kids, and they decided, well, let's take that mask off of you.
Turn you a bad guy.
So thousands of gimmick masks,
Mm-hmm.
and make probably millions of dollars over his
So-
career.
They never wear the same mask twice. You gotta
Yeah.
keep buying them all.
In Mexican wrestling, it's a tradition to wrestle with a mask. And most of them don't show their face in public. And some very rare occasions they'll do like your mask is on the line. If I beat you, you gotta take off your mask.
Or sometimes it's like hair versus mask. Because it's very disrespectful to have your hair cut in Mexican culture for a wrestling match.
And take your mask off.
Yes.
And there's different styles of wrestling. So Mexican wrestling is luchador. So they're flying off the top
Like
rope,
Rey Mysterio, they fly
bouncing
around
off
the
the
ring.
ropes. Yeah. There's Japanese wrestling. Japanese is more physical.
Strong style.
Yeah, physical.
Submissions.
Yeah.
And then there's this guy.
I feel like this is just some cruel joke. He was just showing me like a whole bunch of random pictures of people that aren't even wrestlers.
No, they are all 100% wrestlers.
This guy
You
played
can't
like
see-
4 different characters.
So you're telling me that like the head up people of WWE, or I'm assuming that's where this is from, right?
Yeah.
So the people that are in charge of running $1 billion company, they're like, you know what?
At this time, when he was there, they were not $1 billion. They weren't even like $100,000 company. they were in the toilet.
You know, I'll give them a cool name. I'll say Strikeout.
That's actually a better
That's better
name.
than
That's a way better name than it really
His
is.
name is Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
And that's 1994 because baseball was on strike.
Yes, that was the whole point of
The whole
his
since he couldn't
entire
play baseball,
Yeah.
he came to wrestle.
is that he was on strike because he's a baseball player, but he has to paint his face like a baseball.
So we don't realize that he was someone else a week before.
in the 80s, this was very common that people had jobs like that. And for most people, it didn't work out.
Either job didn't work out. They fired from both.
Yeah.
That guy played like 4 different characters. There was only one that really took off, right?
Which one took off?
I mean, he's known for Brooklyn Brawler. But
I mean, he's
also
known for
for
Brooklyn Brawler. He played Doink a couple of times. That's about it.
He started out his real name, Steve Lombardi. He was a jobber.
So
guy.
he also played a clown.
Sexual harassment brawler.
What?
He got fired because of sexual harassment because he's a piece of shit. Let's move on.
Oh God, what is? I've never seen that.
Oh my God, Jared.
Wait,
So my
that's
question
the original or the second?
Well, technically, the original never actually made it to
TV?
Yeah.
He just did house shows, right?
Yeah.
So my question is, when you do this, are you gonna post those photos up at the
Yeah.
same
We are,
time?
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've never seen that.
What the hell is on this
It just looks like a human tampon. I'm just gonna be
It
honest
looks
with
like
you. Everything's
floaties. Yeah.
everything's screaming out to me. Tampon.
Where do you think this guy is from? Where is his hometown?
You're just gonna say Reddit.
Where do you think this guy is like billed from?
Build from?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Like
Where they say he's
from blah blah blah. This man.
It looks like a bunch of garden hose and pool floaties.
Australia.
Probably Australian. Close.
I don't know.
Well, instead of down under, try to look higher.
Yeah, he's from the moon. He is Max Moon.
Oh God,
Max Moon.
I've heard that name. I haven't seen him. Oh man.
Yeah.
What? Why did you tell me I was close when I said Australia? That's nowhere near.
Well, Australia's
so
like
weird.
So, current day, do you know anybody? I mean, John Cena.
You watched Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania.
It did. It was terrible.
That one match.
It was terrible.
That was a bad match.
I don't remember it, so it must have been.
I think it's just funny because like the one match I decided to sit down. I was like, maybe I'll watch this. It was just god awful.
It was bad camera work.
Like you could see the fist just going right past their face.
Yeah.
Nowhere even near. Didn't even look like it was connecting. Didn't even look like anything.
And they don't ruin it for me.
You mean they don't hit each other? For
Come
real?
on, man.
What?
My son watches this.
Rey Mysterio is still wrestling. He's like 50 years old. His son is wrestling.
now his tag partner.
His son is like 2 feet taller than him.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah. Cena is.
Don't tell me they don't look cool.
I mean,
There's some badasses.
what's your definition of cool?
That's cool.
Is it an upgrade from what you've shown me before? Yes. Yes. 100% yes.
If you were to
But
talk
like,
Cali,
if you saw these guys on a poster,
Right.
you were like, I kind of want to know what that is.
I mean, it looks like a death metal band gone wrong.
You're not far off.
The one guy had drug problems.
They both had drug problems. They were huge coke heads, both of
I mean,
them.
look at them.
Yeah.
Ah,
Do you want to take a shot at their tag team name or their individual names? Because they are a tag team, and there's actually multiple names you could give.
no, they're not a Kiss tribute band.
But they also have individual names, and they are one-word names. I'll give you that.
both of them.
Both of them are.
Are they football related?
No. Actually, maybe they might have played football.
I never understood the pads.
Well, no, I mean as far as the names,
No.
because that's what's throwing me off. It looks
Yeah.
like football pads.
They are
They are
football
football
pads.
pads and spikes.
Yes, they just glued. Well, actually, I think they put them through the pads, but yes, they're football pads.
That doesn't look comfortable at all in wrestling.
They didn't wrestle,
don't
They,
wrestle.
they take them off.
Pads.
They come out in them
Yeah.
and then they take them off.
but
Yeah.
they're still big dudes. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have no idea. I ain't even gonna throw anything out.
So the one with the black and red paint
Right.
is Hawk,
Hawk, like
like the
Hawk.
bird hawk,
like a
HAWK.
like the bird.
and the other one is Animal, because apparently a Hawk's not an animal.
He has a spider on his forehead. It's hard to see. But
And collectively, they are either the Road Warriors or the Legion of Doom, which are both taken from pop culture because Legion of Doom is, Justice League, and Road Warriors are from Mad Max. So,
well, at least that's a lot better than what you've been showing me.
I don't know about that.
It's like the generic versions of all these wrestlers coming out.
What?
Should have called.
That's not generic. These are the greatest wrestlers of all time.
They're
A
considered
guy
one
with
of
a
the greatest tag
baseball
teams of all
painted
time.
on his face. That's the greatest wrestler.
Yes.
the red rooster.
No sell.
Yeah, the Red Rooster.
So right now, the two main companies are WWE and AEW.
Why do they have different companies?
They're owned by different people.
Yeah.
It's like Walmart and Target.
No, I understand
Coke and
that,
Pepsi, yeah.
but like NFL isn't owned by like.
NFL
You
is
see what I
a
mean?
company as much as
It's an organization, right?
Yeah, exactly. These are actually public. Well, one is a publicly traded company. It's a business.
So
WWE is a business.
So think of-
Walmart and Target.
Yeah.
think of WWE as Walmart.
Sheets and
They
Walmart.
also have Sam's Club. So Raw, SmackDown, their younger guys are in a brand called
I
NXT.
wouldn't say younger though.
But
Finn Balor's 39. He
That's
was
true.
the NXT champion.
Bubba Joe's over there.
Yeah.
AEW is owned by the Jaguars owner's son. His
Mhm.
name is Tony Khan. So people haven't been happy with the way Vince has been running things. They leave to go there.
Right.
Back in the 80s and 90s, it was WWF, which is now E, and WCW. Again, similar thing. People weren't happy in one, they left the other. During WCW time, it was more like what you just saw. Characters, movie characters type wrestlers.
Right.
Wrestling wasn't the best.
It was more crap.
Yeah. In the WWF at the time, in the 90s especially, they had this thing called the Attitude Era. They
The
didn't give,
late 90s.
they didn't give any fucks. They swore. Obviously, they didn't say fuck. but
Mostly naked girls.
I equate it to it is the South Park era.
Yeah.
And WCW is Simpsons. Like, okay, Simpsons were like kind of edgy, but like not that edgy. When South Park came along, they completely changed the game.
So did they like not completely, but consistently change it to appeal to whatever generation of viewers were coming along that time?
Whatever their higher audience is. So right now it is back to very kid friendly because they have so many sponsors that are kid friendly.
their big
Snickers.
sponsors make a wish.
And they're a publicly traded company
Yes.
now, so they have people they have to
But-
answer to.
But even at Snickers, Mountain Dew, KFC,
And they bring like
18 to 35 males don't really care that much about that, but the kids do. Toys. I mean, there's so many toys. You hear us talk about them all the time and see them. I mean,
Right.
and so that's and it's a good demographic to have kids because if you market to an 18 to 35-year-old male, that one male is going to buy a ticket. He doesn't need a parent or someone to go with. He can just go and enjoy it. A kid is most likely going to have a parent with, so that's at least 2 tickets, if not making an entire family affair where you're buying 5 tickets because this one kid is a wrestling fan. It's a smart business idea.
and that kid's gonna grow up and take his kids to wrestling shows.
Possibly.
Yeah, to keep it going.
And in the late 90s, Stone Cold was, I'm going after my boss.
That's the 18 to 35 demographic.
Yeah, so guys saw that, holy shit, this guy's kicking the hell out of his boss.
Your Simpsons analogy was good because I've read something similar to that. Right?
Oh, really?
Like WCW
That was off the cuff. That was
Was-
right off the dome.
like we all liked the Simpsons because it was cool. It was our thing.
Yeah.
Then when like your parents started to like it, and everyone in the world started liking it, then you sort of
Oh,
like,
yeah. But then I found South Park.
And then you went to
was like,
South Park. And
Holy
went, oh
shit.
yeah, I like this much better.
I remember my mom thinking that I was watching porn because of what was happening on South Park. And I was
That's
like, no,
how-
it's a cartoon.
It was like
Yeah.
that became your thing because you knew
Yeah.
your parents were gonna hate it.
Yeah.
It became the cool thing.
I'd say more like Family Guy, South Park.
Family Guy came after.
Hey, he's wearing my shirt.
Yeah, that's what made me think about it.
Oh, hey.
See now the front half, I was like, wow, that actually looks pretty good. And then it looks like it turns into a goat at the bottom of it.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally the shirt
See
next
that?
to you.
No, it is exactly.
Yeah.
It looks better on
But I
that.
bet you don't know who this guy is.
You bet I do.
I bet you do.
I think you mentioned him earlier.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, I mean, I can kind of see his face.
You can? Okay, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. That's why I tried to get a picture with the bandana to throw you off.
So is the Undertaker.
It is the Undertaker,
Okay.
but it is the
The
Biker.
American Badass.
well. This is actually technically it's Big Evil. Get your shit right.
Yeah.
God damn it! You're the host of a wrestling podcast. Know your evolutions of Undertaker. And this was
See, it is Pokemon. It is.
With the Undertaker, yes, there are many evolutions. That's actually my favorite shirt. Like this is that was my favorite Undertaker.
There was different, I don't know how to put it, but different evolutions of the Undertaker, different versions of
Yes.
the Undertaker.
Well, he was
That's
dead
why-
for a while, then all of a sudden he was a biker and he wasn't dead anymore.
He had superpowers, and then he didn't have superpowers, and then he got the. Don't look at me like that.
Oh, I'm done.
He ascended.
He could fly.
Yeah.
He could make light appear.
He could sacrifice people on his symbol.
Sometimes his urn had smoke. Sometimes it had light. We never really knew.
So they actually put somebody on a cross.
Yeah, they
That was
sacrificed somebody.
Undertaker's symbol.
It's a symbol.
But
It's not a cross.
Yeah,
It's
that
a
would have been a
symbol.
whole other thing.
But,
It's a symbol.
so different versions of the Undertaker. So
He also hung a guy on,
That's
on
true.
live TV
On the paper.
at one of their biggest events of
At
that year.
WrestleMania.
Their biggest event of that year. He hung someone
like,
Right.
news
like
around the
by
night.
their fucking
Yeah.
neck.
So would you say he's the number one wrestler
What do you mean?
as far as
I think
like,
he is.
Not according to that book we have.
Yeah, I think he is the greatest gimmick of all time. But
But when it comes to skill level, you don't think that.
no.
He's a punch and kick guy. He's a brawler.
You want to see the Undertaker's entrance. You don't really care about his match. And it is, some of it's good, but mainly you want to see the theatrics of the lights go out, the dry ice and the smoke, the light hits, he walks
The
down.
15-minute walk to the ring.
Yeah, or like WrestleMania 14 with the fire. They had like people dressed up in robes, and they all had torches over him as he walked under it. That's the cool thing about the Undertaker is seeing the presentation. I just turned my flashlight on.
So different versions of Undertaker. He started as this guy from a cemetery, and then later on, well, I want to say early 90s, right?
Yeah, when did they decide he was dead? Because he didn't start out as dead, right? Like an Undertaker isn't dead. An Undertaker buries dead bodies.
Yeah.
Why did they?
I don't know where that name came from. They didn't think it through.
Yeah.
So the story is he had his gimmick called Mean Mark Callis, right? And it was just him, no costume, no nothing, just him wrestling. It didn't go well. He was sitting at home.
I think it was fine. Skyscrapers were fine.
He was at home, not really doing anything. He gets a call from Mr. McMahon, and Mr. McMahon says, "Hey, is this the Undertaker?"
No, he doesn't. He gets a call from Bruce Pritchard. Nobody gets a call from Vince.
Well, see, the
It's just
documentary said
calling
it
you
was
out over
Vince.
there.
What?
The documentary said it was Vince. Like Taker said, Vince called him.
I don't think Vince
I don't
called him.
But it was like,
No,
"Hey, is this the
Vince.
Undertaker?" And he had to think for a minute. He was like, "I don't know." And then he was like, "Yes, it is." And that's how he got into the gimmick. And so much like Heath Ledger with the Joker, this guy named Mark Callis lived the Undertaker character.
Yeah.
He became the Undertaker. He put his dedication into this character.
So that was just like a corny way of saying that this is what your name is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
But he, like,
sometimes
never
you don't
left
have,
his house.
Yeah. Like he had people shop for him. He. Oh, I forgot
It's
about
like
him.
the white blade.
I mean,
Oh my god! That's actually really close. His that's really good. His gimmick is a vampire.
Hey, I'll
Yeah,
take
That
it.
was good. I mean, his name was Kevin Thorne, which is so
Just a generic white guy name.
Yeah,
and then didn't he become?
Mordecai.
No, he wasn't
No,
Mordecai.
Mordecai was first.
Oh yeah.
That didn't last long.
So that's a vampire, and then his gimmick before that was like, what would you call that?
He was supposed to be the light. To
He
Undertaker
was
was dark.
So Undertaker was a good guy who was dressed in all black and darkness. Mordecai was the dressed in all white and came down as the evil version. So it's actually like flipped of what you would.
Yeah, that's a little different.
It did last long.
But I do want to get back to what you were saying with the Undertaker, and you said you weren't really impressed with not impressed with his wrestling. Like you did like it, but you wouldn't rate it.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to see him go 60 minutes like Flair and Steamboat, but it's fun to watch.
Right. So I guess this is kind of how I'd branch into what you would say a non-wrestling fan would, come up and say about it. And obviously no discredit to anything that these guys do. I think that takes a lot of physical stamina and endurance, and, I'm not knocking any of that. But I guess really how can you rate his wrestling ability if it's scripted and rehearsed?
Well, so it's not. So that's a common misconception about wrestling. It's not necessarily scripted and rehearsed. It's predetermined.
Right.
There's a big difference between scripted and rehearsed. A lot of that shit is called on the fly. And if we can't get really into it here, but I can show you some videos where you can see where they're talking in the middle of the ring. What they're doing is they're figuring out what to do next. People get hurt. You've seen people get hurt.
Right.
I mean, things happen.
Sometimes it's just like, this guy's going to win tonight. However you get there, it's up to you guys. But
right.
You're going to win tonight.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Guys that can make you think. So you know who Kurt Angle is, I think, right? And Brock Lesnar?
Yes.
That guy, Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those guys are legitimate badasses.
Right. Like he told me he won the gold medal.
What a broken bring it back.
Yeah. So I've heard that.
I'm leaving.
That
was last week's episode. But no. Those guys can make you think, kind of suspend your disbelief for a minute at remembering this is something that's predetermined. Because
right.
Really, legitimately, at any given moment, if they're mad, they can just do whatever the fuck they want.
Brock Lesnar especially, I mean, he was in the UFC.
Right, and I mean, I understand that, and I get that there is, that part of it. But, to me personally, like, you have wrestling championships, right, where it's like a belt or anything like that.
Gimmick.
Right.
It's just a prop.
But what I mean,
belts don't mean shit.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. But, I mean, also at the same point, like, if I was a kid, right, and I was watching it, I would think that the person that has that belt is like the best wrestler.
Yes,
or,
that's what it's supposed to portray.
Right.
So or they've done something. If you're a heel or a bad guy,
right.
You've done something like to cheat that the referee didn't see to win that belt, and you keep cheating to keep that belt. So now I hate you because every time you face my favorite wrestler, whether it's Stone Cold or whether it's Hulk Hogan or whether it's John Cena. That's as a kid, those are my favorite wrestlers. So when you do something that cheats them out of winning that belt that I want to see, I'm now mad at you.
Right.
And I want to see them beat you the next time. So I'm going to pay next time, or I'm going to get my parents to pay next time to see them beat you. And maybe they don't do it that time either. But eventually, when that babyface finally gets that over, like, oh, against all odds, I finally got my belt. That's the big hurrah moment. That's the big feel good, send them home happy.
And I understand that storytelling part of it and the marketing ideas and anything like that, but I think I kind of look at it as, and this is where Jared and I had a previous discussion before we went on this as to whether or not, he classifies it as a sport. And as wrestling as a sport, I agree, but not professional wrestling.
So wrestling as it is now is entertainment.
And it's
always entertainment. That's the thing. It was always entertainment.
Yeah.
It was never supposed to be.
In a way.
That's the thing. I tell people anybody that says anything about, oh, well, how can you watch it? It's so fake. Well, so is Die Hard. Bruce Willis doesn't actually do. Vin Diesel isn't driving a car out of a 150-foot building or 150-story building.
So you're just watching a movie or like Mortal Kombat or something like that.
Exactly. Wrestling is a movie. Appreciate the story that it's telling you. Suspend your disbelief for a little bit. Hopefully the good ones can make you do that. The bad ones, you go, oh, shit, that was terrible.
Right.
So like when you say the Undertaker, there's different philosophies on what's a good wrestler. There's a gimmick that can draw you in and go, I want to see what that guy does. I want to see the theatrics. We talked about LOD. You see that on a poster, you're going to go, I kind of want to go see what that is.
Yeah.
Then you have a guy like, let's say, Ric Flair, who is plain colored tights and boots, but he goes 60 minutes and he can make you forget that what you're watching is predetermined. And you can actually, for a moment, forget that you're watching a predetermined wrestling match, and you can just appreciate all the things they're going to do to tell that story.
Yeah.
So this wrestling is based on amateur wrestling. The ground.
So it's carny.
Yeah. So
The history of pro wrestling comes from carnivals.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I understand that. And I think I kind of look at it as a point of view of, so, let's say you play football, for example, in high school. And then obviously the dream is, to go into your college.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go into the NFL where you're still playing the sport you love.
Mm-hmm.
But, in a way, I guess without, there's no really way I can say this except you're actually doing it. So, like, for me personally, I think I would be rubbed the wrong way if, let's say, I was in high school, I was a wrestler, and instead of going to, like, an Olympic part of it, or, going through that with the actual wrestling, if you call it, I think I would and I wanted to go into that professional WWE, whatever it may be, and then I get there, and it's like, regardless of if you're a better wrestler than whoever you were supposed to face that night, you're still going to lose. I think that's what
I would
rubs
say
me the
those
wrong way.
people go into MMA.
Yeah, but what if they don't like MMA? What if it's just they just strictly like wrestling?
Pro wrestling.
Yeah, like WWE.
If you like it, then you should take the time to learn how to do that. If you want to actually prove that you're the best at amateur wrestling, get into MMA. That's
right.
That's what I would say. Because like some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, like Dan Severn, he was a great he was a great wrestler, like collegiate style wrestling. He also tried his hand at pro wrestling, not so great because he didn't have character, but put him in an octagon and dude was amazing.
That's what I mean. Like, what if you didn't want to do MMA? You just wanted to solely stick to wrestling. You're really good at wrestling, but then you get to the professionals and they just tell you, you know what, you're losing.
Nobody's paying to watch it. That's the problem. Nobody's paying to watch Olympic style wrestling.
Why?
Are you?
I don't watch wrestling to begin with.
I do, and I'm not paying to watch it. I'm not going to pay to go see something.
You wouldn't like an actual good fight. You watch MMA.
I watch MMA. That's what I'm saying. I would go to MMA. But that's not just all wrestling. I know. But as a great collegiate wrestler, I think if you want to stick to that, that's what I want to do for a living. You have two options: hone your skill in pro wrestling or go to MMA. Because a good wrestler, I think, any day will take on a boxer. Anybody who can punch, a good wrestler can take them and fuck their day up. Never give you the opportunity to punch.
You can take punches, but if this wrestler twists your ankle a certain way,
if I pop your knee out of joint, like you can't get up to punch me. You know what I mean? So that's what I think. That seems to be the two logical paths you can take, and some have taken both. Brock Lesnar. Have you ever seen a Brock Lesnar fight?
Not MMA, no.
I mean, he was a collegiate All-American in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
So for Minnesota, he was a collegiate All-American. He then came to WWE OVW, but WWE to hone his craft and do that. But he also could jump off the top rope and do a shooting star press, which is flipping backwards. But then when he was done with that, he said, you know what? I want to go and prove that I'm actually still a badass and I can beat anybody, whether they tell me I'm going to win or lose tonight. And that's thinking that MMA isn't also predetermined sometimes. I don't know. Sometimes it's a little weird.
I don't know about that.
I think sometimes UFC might have some shit. I mean,
I couldn't see how, because when it comes to submissions or whatever it may be, I mean, like you said, granted with wrestling, right?
Mm.
In that moment you could get really pissed off. And that's not even like actual punching. I'm sure, in wrestling, some punches land. I get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if some guy has just been laying into me the entire, like, couple rounds that I've been in there, and I know I'm supposed to just lose, that's not going to happen.
It's been proven that boxing, it happened in boxing.
Right. And
It's
I'm
been
not
proven that people have taken dives and they throw phantom punches.
No, I understand.
And the person dives, and then that's how they make their money, because then they can sell the rematch. I can't believe that it hasn't happened at least once in MMA.
I'm not saying that it's not, it can't happen. I'm saying that it's not an organizational thing.
I don't think it's every fight, but I think some of the big market ones, like obviously Conor McGregor didn't go out there and break his leg.
Yeah, that's real determination, right? That would be dedication.
Yeah, that is staying in character.
Yeah. But I think.
But I feel like you don't need that, because I mean, you have, like, me personally, I never really got too big into UFC or anything like that. But obviously, I pay attention when there's like big fights, like Dustin Poirier versus
right there with
McGregor.
you. I used to really like it, and now it's just I know the big name guys.
Yeah.
I probably honestly, every time Conor McGregor fights somebody, I'm like, who's this guy? I look him up. I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't know some of the guys.
So I looked at it as like Khabib versus McGregor, right? I knew already off the bat that was going to be a good match, that it was going to be entertaining. So I don't think, in the organizational's point of view, that they really need to determine a winner in that situation, because either way it's going to bring in that money. And so that's just how I look at it. And I guess that really comes back to the wrestling part of the fact of, like, if somebody wants to go professional or not. I just think it's unfair that, if that's something that you trained to do and that's what you really wanted to do, because let's say like that's what your heart was destined on. You see all the wrestlers on there. Like, I guess the best way I can put it is, if I wanted to be a professional wrestler and I wanted to be known as that, obviously the best place I'm going to go to is WWE. You're not going to go to the Olympics, because yes, if you win a gold medal, then yes, you'll get some notoriety.
Especially with a broken freaking neck.
Yeah. But you won't really get as much as you would with pro wrestling. So it would make me upset if I was in that situation where I wanted to get my name out there. I wanted to be, like, the kids to watch me. I wanted all that. That was my outlet. And I have to lose X amount of fights just because some guy in a business suit tells me I have to.
I mean,
there's this thing called long-term booking, right? So let's say there's this heel, Brock Lesnar, for example, right? He's the world champion, and he keeps beating John Cena, The Rock.
He beats everyone in 53 seconds.
That the kids adore, right? I fucking hate this guy. I want him to lose, right? And then a guy like, let's say, Rey Mysterio, for example. Well, it wouldn't happen. But
Brock McIntyre, that was his gimmick.
So
that's what happened 2 years ago.
Fans love these baby faces. It's just something they interact with the crowd. They they do things for kids. They donate to charity, whatever it is. And then when that good guy beats Brock Lesnar, I'm happy. I'm excited. So it's something that pulls the audience. It's
pro wrestling isn't about. It should never be about egos. If you're looking to become, your ego, pad your ego, like you said about, I want to be this, I want to keep winning.
I wouldn't really say
I wouldn't get into pro wrestling.
I wouldn't really say it's ego. I think it's, same reason as people go, like, I'll go back to professional football. Why would you go into that? You want to play the sport at a high level. You want to be among there with those names of the greatest people of all time. Like, nobody goes into a professional sport or anything like that and you're like, yeah, I just want to be an average Joe. That's not what it is.
So football, for example, right? The Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, the Jaguars are notorious for losing a lot of games.
One pick in the draft,
right? Nobody, if they were worried about losing, they wouldn't go to the Jaguars. And there have been some few occasions.
That's different though, because you could have the pride of, I'm going to turn this organization.
Yeah, exactly.
But there have been some rare occasions where quarterbacks said, "No, I don't want to play for you. Trade me."
Eli Manning.
Yes.
Right. Then he pulled that shit with the Chargers, right?
Yeah.
Right, but I mean,
at the end of the day, professional wrestling, I feel like
I feel like
It's a
that's
sport.
I feel like that's different.
Comparing professional sports that you work your whole life to professional wrestling is completely different.
yeah.
Just
Are-
because
are
it's
you-
called pro wrestling does not mean it is a professional version of wrestling.
So-
That's the difference. It is just the name. Pro wrestling is what they call it. Sports entertainment. It is.
But
It's a movie. It's a
Pro-
TV show.
pro means you get paid.
Yes, that's
Yes.
all it means.
So you
But
basically
pro wrestling means you're
Yeah.
wrestling, you get paid for it.
you
I'm a pro
basically say
wrestler. I've
it's
been
just a
major
whole
wrestler.
bunch of stunt doubles, is what you're saying.
Not stunt doubles. They do their own stunts.
Well, that's what I mean. Like if
They're-
all these stunt doubles got together and they wrestled, that's what it is.
There's still more to it though about storytelling. There's not everybody can do it. There have been terrible wrestlers
So like
who
if
can't tell stories.
there's these two guys, right, and they go in and it's just punches and kicks, you'd be bored, right?
It's boring. Yes,
So it's these guys' jobs to entertain
and that's
the
what
audience.
used to happen in like the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Even it was boring. They would go out and they literally grapple each other for an hour, and people were like, "I'm not staying for this shit."
Like amateur wrestling, it's a bunch of grappling on the ground, stuff like that, right? I'm not saying it's boring, but it's
It's. I mean, if you think about it, would you watch MMA without punches and kicks? It'd be pretty fucking boring.
Well, that's different.
so it's these guys' jobs to not only go in there and entertain, but find a way to make it entertaining.
So
So
if you were a great collegiate wrestler and you thought, I want to do this for a living, you need to figure out what you want to do, because nobody should be going into that thinking, oh, I'm going to be a pro wrestler, but I'm just going to keep winning. Well, then go to MMA, because you gotta make a decision. You can't
Well-
just say, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
Well, why shouldn't it be that case? I mean, like I said, this is something that you do or you're naturally good at. People don't just wake up and have that ability to do whatever they do. It takes time. They got to practice and they got to train. So, I mean, I guess how I look at it as, you train all this time, and it's not even just about winning or anything like that. It kind of comes back to what I was saying about football. You don't want to just go into that situation and just be bland. And so you can naturally have that talent, naturally be good at it, but you're not considered a good wrestler because your
Good
media
pro wrestler.
because your media or your marketing fails.
Yes.
like those guys,
But you know going in, again, you don't get to 25 years old out of college and go, oh shit, that stuff I see on TV is fake. Oh, I thought I could do that for a living the whole time.
No,
you kind of know that.
No,
when
and
you're-
I
So-
understand that.
So if that was your goal, you should probably look into it
And
first.
it does take some training.
It takes athleticism.
Um,
Not every Joe Schmo can do it.
Justin's a trained wrestler.
It takes
um,
lots of training.
I went to a training session, and it's not that I didn't like it, but it was definitely, like I told you earlier, I gained more respect for the guys that do it because it's not easy. If go in that ring and get slammed, you got to learn how to fall. You got to learn how to do certain things. And then back to the whole entertaining thing, punches and kicks versus, you know what, I'm going to go in that match, I'm going to hit you with a 450 front flip. That's cool to watch. That will draw people in.
It is cool to watch, but I hate power.
Yeah. So it's stuff
Honestly,
like
there's
that.
no difference
like,
between flipping 17 times in the air and landing,
like
or
there's no,
dripping, or just jumping straight and landing.
there's no impact.
All you're showing
Yeah.
is that you're able to flip. It's
So
essentially
like,
diving board.
but it draws people in. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's not just punches, kicks, stuff like that.
So then I think that's where him and I got into a different conversation because, like I said, I did, as pro wrestling goes, not actual wrestling with the Olympics or anything like that. To me, what it comes off as is I did tell him that it wasn't, a sport. And, he had his
It's
own
not a
view-
sport.
Yeah.
It's not a sport.
And he had
It
his own
shouldn't be
views on
considered a
that.
sport. It shouldn't be considered a sport.
And I think, to me, from an outsider point of view, I think it just loses a lot of its credibility once it came out and say that, everything was predetermined.
But
And-
I don't know if they ever. I mean, I guess they tried to hide it, but
I think Vince did that one speech where he was like,
yeah.
where they transitioned into
Yeah.
entertainment. I don't
I
remember
don't know. But
exactly
even
how
as
that
a
went,
kid,
but-
I never thought it was real. I watched it for stories. I watched it for characters. I never thought, oh, So this isn't real? Oh, then I'm not going to watch. It's to me, it's a TV show. It's a movie. It's story.
Right. And I think that's where a lot of the arguments will come from, is people that don't view it the same as you do. Those diehard fans that say, like, yes, I know it's predetermined, but it's still real. It's still
there's a thing.
Yeah.
It's still real to me. Damn it! There's actually a guy who cried in like this. I don't know. It was like a school gym. They were doing like an interview with some old time guys, and he just starts crying on the microphone, going, "It's still real to me, damn it." Okay, I mean, that's a lot of Southern thing. Like, Southern people believed that their wrestling was real.
And they're professional athletes. They are.
They are. I mean, they get paid. That's what the term professional is.
Yeah,
that's what it means.
It does take learning to do.
Yeah.
But again, Vince transitioned from World Wrestling Federation to World Wrestling Entertainment because it is entertainment.
Which could have still been Federation. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, because the World Wildlife Fund.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying,
the main thing
wrestling
was,
title.
If he classifies as a sport, then he's subject to taxes.
Yeah, that's really...
And the medical people have to come in, he has to pass physicals.
Yes, that is the end-all, be-all of
big.
what sports entertainment versus sport is.
At that time, his boys were all on juice.
Fucking taxes. That's where it all boils down to. It's all actually about taxes.
And
because if they actually compete, that means they have to take all kinds of drug tests, just like UFC fighters.
Yeah.
And
they answer to it like athletic board.
Exactly. And when they call themselves entertainment and a TV show, movie, whatever you want to call it,
they can avoid all
they
that.
Can just do whatever the fuck they
They
want.
found a loophole, man.
Yep, they found a loophole.
That's what it comes down to.
That really is what
they
it
bullshit you about all this other stuff, but that is
that's
really,
where they transition from WWE.
I mean,
to
I've
WWE.
never viewed wrestling. Obviously, we've all seen times where wrestling gets real. Sometimes people take liberties with people.
For example, Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton had a match. You know who Randy Orton is?
Yeah.
Okay, out of nowhere. They had a match, and Brock Lesnar legitimately cut Orton with elbows on the ground. Brock Lesnar's just a douche. That's who he is. But
also, New Jack stabbed people multiple times. There's a guy named New Jack who just stabbed people in the middle of a ring.
Took cheese graters to their head,
stab?
like a shank,
with a knife.
And they're just letting this happen.
No, they didn't let it happen. It just happened. He had a knife.
So did they just end the fight?
A knife. I think it was like an ice pick.
Did they end the fight right there?
There was a company.
No.
You tried to end a guy's life right then.
There was a company called ECW.
No, that wasn't an ECW.
Extreme Championship Wrestling. During that time, that's when weapons became chairs, bats, stuff like that. There was blood, tables, all that stuff, and that's where things started to get interesting because
that's not true though.
But it is wrestling, but
that's not true because Memphis was doing it for years.
Yeah.
Memphis was. I mean, Jerry Lawler bled every night. Ric Flair bled every night.
ECW just was on
took it to the next level. Yeah, they had a TV
They
deal.
did it with non-conventional weapons. Like usually it was like
Hard
chairs or what else would they use back then? I don't know. Mostly just wooden chairs was really what the blood came from, or just punches the hard way. They had cheese graters. They used
barbed wire.
Barbed wire.
The audience was encouraged to bring weapons.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
and a lot of it happened in Philly and New York.
Yeah.
They were based out of Philly.
So this New Jack guy.
Well, they were based out of the Northeast.
Yeah.
Because they ran Delaware, Jersey. Yeah.
And I was telling you about Tournament of Death, where they use light tubes, and you said that'd be something you'd be interested in.
Deathmatch wrestling.
Yes.
I think that's what it's called, right? Deathmatch.
Deathmatch wrestling. Yes.
You said you'd be interested in that.
It is interesting to watch. I can't watch it all the time, but I like watching it once a year.
Because that's like real wrestling. It's
no, it's still predetermined.
It's still predetermined.
Oh yeah, they all stand back there and go, okay, I'm gonna throw you through these light tubes. I'm gonna light you on fire at this point in the match.
The weapons
aren't predetermined.
But the weapons are real.
Who in the hell in their right mind is just like, I'm totally all right with you lighting me on fire?
There was
I haven't figured that out.
So
there's people out there.
That's the $1 million wrestling.
I can post this video on here later, but there's a video of a guy jumping off of a roof onto a bed of a truck bed with light tubes, barbed wire, and everything on there. and
Are you talking
almost
about the Zandig and Joey
Yes.
Janela? Okay.
almost
Those in Jersey.
like cut his hand off because of that.
What?
It's just
Oh, and that also, Gage almost died.
Nick Gage.
Gage almost died because he hit a light tube wrong. It sliced him, and he almost died because he almost bled out. It hit a bad artery.
But how do you hit a light tube wrong? Like you're just retarded anyway.
So when
if you hit
it broke, it sliced him. So
Right.
he went through the light tube with his back, and the light tube, instead of just combusting, it snapped, and so it hit the jagged edge. Most of them just explode, but this one snapped instead of exploding, which kept the jagged edge, and it just sliced his arm.
So like sometimes in WWE,
And they tried to wrap it up with a t-shirt,
sometimes
and then they had to bring a helicopter in to like medevac him out. And he wanted to go back out there. He was like, no, I'm not fucking going. Like, let's wrap it in a t-shirt and I'll go back out there.
Yeah. Sometimes in WWE, they gimmick weapons, like mostly tables. Like they beat them to make them weaker.
Oh, they cut him.
Yeah.
They don't. No. That's actually a common
They cut
misconception. No, they don't cut.
So
What they do is, so if you ever see a wooden table, it has that metal ring around the bottom, right? That supports it. They take that metal ring off. Now it's just a plank of wood that's, I don't know, like barely an inch like thick. It's really nothing. Tables actually don't hurt. Tables break your fall.
So in this death match, there's no gimmick anything. It's
No.
strictly light tubes. Like go to Walmart, buy a light tube. That's what they hit each other with.
Yeah, there's no way to fake fire.
Yeah.
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 But this New Jack guy literally
Stab him.
almost killed a kid.
No, he wasn't. Don't say it like
No,
that.
Hold on.
Get over here, kid. We're wrestling.
That's a whole episode about
So
that.
there's a story.
He was 17.
He lied about his age.
He lied about his age. His name was Mass Transit, which is
Well, like he said he was older or whatever.
Yes, he said he was older. He said he was trained by this guy named Killer Kowalski. That guy was actually at the show, so they just assumed, okay, he's not going to lie that he was trained by this guy if this guy is here, because we could just easily check. But they didn't easily check.
Somebody no-showed.
Was it Devon?
Is that who it was?
Or no, it was
Somebody-
Mustafa. No, yeah, because it was again. It was
Somebody
like
no-showed.
Devon or
I
Bubba.
think
It was
it was
one of
short.
the Dudleys. He was with one of the Dudleys. So his name was Mass Transit. His gimmick was that he dressed up like a mass transit worker, like he worked in the subway station. He lied about his age. His dad was actually in the crowd with him. He told New Jack, this guy who has stabbed people in the past, who has a justifiable homicide
He's
on his
an
record.
ex-convict, yeah.
He has actually killed someone in the past and gone to jail for it. He told him, hey, cut me when we're in the match. So New Jack cut him. And he hit some kind of artery in his head. I'll show you the video after this. It's fucking disgusting. It's literally pouring out of his head.
Right.
And then they found out, oh, this kid's only 17.
Didn't he die on the way to the hospital?
No, he didn't
No.
die. He didn't die. I mean,
He died years later.
yeah, he's
okay.
dead now, but he didn't die from that. But there is another instance.
And he never wrestled a day in his life that he lied about.
Yeah. But there was another instance, multiple, where he stabbed a gym teacher, or was it a principal? Because they were doing this like high school fundraiser, and these guys hired New Jack, and this high school, he was either a principal or a gym teacher, I forget. But he was going to wrestle New Jack for this, and then I think he hit New Jack, or he tried to shoot on New Jack, and New Jack got pissed. So he used to wear these cargo pants so he could hide things in his big pockets. So he took out an ice pick and just started stabbing the dude while gripping him up by the neck. He just started stabbing him. So,
And did the guy die?
no, he didn't die either. No, his homicide came outside of wrestling. He also threw a guy off of a scaffold through like 5 tables, and the guy just missed like every table. So there's this story. They're up in this scaffold. They got to be like 50 feet in the air, right? And there's a bunch of tables underneath them, and he's supposed to hit all the tables. This guy named Vic Grimes, he says, New Jack, I can't feel my feet. And New Jack says, you don't need your feet, and he throws him off. and he misses like every table, hits the rope. I mean, this is how Owen Hart died pretty much. And he was hoping that this guy would die. Like, he tried to kill him.
So the ring ropes are what is it? Cable wire most of the time.
In ECW, would be well. That was actually XPW, but yes, it would have been cable. Vince used
So they're tight. They're very little give.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the
And
type of
rings are
stuff
made-
that people would be watching. And I know, like, you don't want to.
Interesting. No, I don't want to see anybody die, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
It's
and
different
like,
during that time, especially.
yeah, and I mean, obviously, you know what you said with the kids, you know, getting the more tickets for the families and stuff like that. I understand that, but I feel like I don't know that's what would draw me into that.
That's not geared towards kids, though. That's
right. No, and
our
I
demographic.
no, and I understand that, and I mean, like, you know, UFC is, you know, a prosperous company as well.
Oh, that's terrible because I watched that as a 7-year-old. When did UFC start? 95? I was a 5-year-old watching UFC, 6-year-old.
But see, that is a prosperous company,
That's
and
like
they don't
UFC's fault. That's his
have
bad
to PG anything.
Yeah.
They don't have to PG anything. So I feel like, you know, if you respect and are interested in that whole storytelling part of it, you know, I get it. You know, that's your thing. That's your gig. You know, respect to you. It's just not my cup of tea. But I think that type of wrestling, where regardless of if it's predetermined or whatever it may be, it's like, I guess best way of putting it is watching a Jackass movie.
It's exactly
yeah.
like
Right,
watching a
and-
Jackass movie.
Spoiler: that was still predetermined.
Yeah, no, and that's what I said. Regardless
Yeah.
of it's predetermined, it's the fact
Yeah.
that, like,
Yeah.
you know, Jackass obviously has a script, right?
Yeah.
This is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna run through. But it's still that entertainment
Yeah.
factor because
Mhm.
it makes you. It takes you out of your common day. You know, your average man. You know, like, it makes you think, what the fuck?
And that's what WWE
wrong with
does
this
with
person?
kids.
Wrestling can also do
Right.
that, but you gotta
Yeah.
find the right wrestling that works for you. So there are multiple things. Like, for me, WWE does not do it
Yeah,
anymore.
I don't
As
really
a
watch
child,
WWE.
it did it. It was good, and for children now, it's great.
Okay, so what do you
for me-
guys watch?
I watch AEW. I watch a
And
lot of
NXT.
Japanese wrestling because it's much different. I don't watch a lot of luchador Mexico stuff. I want to. I just never find it.
So again, WWE Raw and SmackDown, right? Those are more directed towards kids. So the storytelling can kind of get lost and whatever. It's just popular with kids. NXT, AEW is for the wrestling fans who want to see good storytelling, good athletes,
Matches that make you suspend disbelief.
long matches like
That
40-minute
this is
matches.
not
Yeah.
real. You can kind of forget that this is predetermined.
And
Because I'm always thinking like, oh, where are they going with this? And I try not to because I don't want to. I want to go back to the days where I was just a fan and just watching. But my mind now goes, oh, where are they going to go? Oh, well, if they do this spot, then that means they're going to go to this next.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. But
And I think a good topic for you guys, and, you know, a previous or a future episode, and, you know, this may be a little spoiler alert to your guys' listeners, but I really think that you guys should take that time and come up with a scene or an incident. What got you into wrestling? Like,
I think we did that early on. Thanks for listening. man.
earlier
One
on.
of our
You're
first
welcome.
episodes.
Yeah.
You're welcome. But no, I mean, like, actually, like, solidifying it, you know, and especially, you know, bringing in people like me or anybody else that doesn't really view it as entertainment or anything like that. View it as, like, you know, that's just always in the back of my mind, like, oh, you know, these are just people in spandex, you know, trying to bear hug each other, you know. That's just how, like,
It's a viable argument if you're
it's a common thing,
if-
honestly.
yeah, if you're
can't
not a
see past
fan.
it, yeah.
And
I've had my whole life been defending wrestling.
Yeah, I don't really
I
defend
get
it.
all
I
the
just
time,
say,
oh, you know that shit's fake. Right? I'm like, yeah, so are movies.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't really defend it. I just say, okay, it's not for you.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
like superhero movies.
yeah,
That's
I don't
just-
either.
So
I don't like the Fast
wrestling.
and
It's the
Furious
same thing.
movies.
I don't like, well,
I like the first
the
three.
first, yeah, exactly.
And then they became superheroes,
Like,
and it was like,
everyone's like, oh, Vin Diesel is a cool big action star, but he's not doing that stuff. Stuntmen are. It's
Yeah.
the same thing.
at least these
Yeah.
guys are doing their own stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same like
but-
wrestling. Yeah.
For the
I
most
mean,
part.
get-
Except for when Undertaker said it, that was Marty Jannetty.
And getting back to what I was saying was, like, if you take that time and you talk to somebody that's not interested in it, and show them like, okay, this is what did it for me, and like explaining that why, even throwing the clip up there, and having people look at it and going like, wow, okay, I see your point of view and stuff like that. And I mean, I guess you guys kind of touched on that with the heel versus baby faces or whatever. And see, look at that. I'm learning new terms already. Don't worry, I'll forget them in 2 days from now.
Speaking like a pro already.
But taking that time and reaching out to people that because obviously, if I was an outside listener to this podcast, or if I didn't know you personally, and I see a We Like Wrestling podcast, obviously it's not going to draw my attention because that's not my thing. But I mean, if you have an episode labeled, this, not how to get into wrestling 101, but something along those terms, right? And then you look at those videos, I think that would be something interesting. Like, to me, what would be a portal to that, and don't get your hopes up. I'm never saying that I'm getting into WWE, but that portal is that deathmatch wrestling. Because I can take that it's scripted, I can take that it's predetermined, and I can shove that thought to the side because of the fact of what these people are doing.
Yeah.
And I would never in a million years even think about doing that.
A main thing that got rid of that was, ECW was its own thing, blood, whatever. And they just didn't have the money to get it anywhere. So Vince McMahon dug into it, got it. But at the same time, there were some states that changed their laws. In PA, you cannot bleed.
Yeah,
so these deathmatch things that we're talking about happen in Delaware typically, because Delaware's more,
or Jersey.
Yeah, they're more loose with their rules. So back in that day, ECW ran Philadelphia and New York. Obviously, Philadelphia fans are rowdy, all that stuff, so they love
to Santa Claus and throw rocks in them, or snowballs, whatever it is.
So we would love to take you to that deathmatch tournament.
I'd love to take you to deathmatch. Yeah,
fun. Honestly, it's a whole day thing
too, because we just drink and we hang out and eat cookies that people just hand you, and you don't know what's in them, but you just hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a whole day thing.
I don't know if I really trust cookies at a deathmatch place.
I would, because those people are the best people around. No one is out there to hurt you. It is the greatest.
It's such like the contradictory part. Nobody's out there to hurt you, but they want to watch people get like destroyed.
The fans are the best fans.
Yeah.
All right, so let's end this on one more.
Guess
what's
the
this?
rest there. What's this Pokemon?
It's actually a pretty cool one, right? Like, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So what do you think his character?
If you saw that, you'd be like, I want to see whatever the fuck that guy's doing.
Yeah, I see that. What's in his hand?
I don't think I swore enough on this episode, by the way. So fuck, shit, bitch.
Yeah. We need to have a tally counter.
What is that in his hand?
You can hit your numbers.
Which hand? Because there's two hands. The skull. It's probably just dry ice. It's a skull.
So he's like a witch doctor, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
But
he is Papa Shango. He's
Papa Shango.
He's a voodoo priest.
Oh, there you go.
It's actually one of the best gimmicks that never really made it in wrestling.
His other gimmick after that was he was a pimp.
Actually, after that, he was the supreme fighting machine.
How can you switch that much and actually get into that character and to develop that?
Because they
persona.
Like him, they took the face paint off. He grew out a beard, I think he had.
Yeah.
He grew some hair. Like they changed his look.
The hardest, it's funny because like the best gimmick of all time is the Undertaker, like we talked about. And he never wore face paint or anything. It's easy to change face paint. So it's easy to go, okay, I used to be this, but now I took the face paint off and nobody really knows who I am because they never saw my real face, so I can just be this other person or put a mask on or whatever. Undertaker, how the fuck did we just accept that? Like I said, he had supernatural powers and then he didn't, and then he had them again. We were just like,
bought into that character, man.
Yeah, we were just like, okay.
So, do you know who Kane is?
Yeah.
So,
a tattoo of him.
That's true.
That's true. He was portrayed as the Undertaker's brother later on.
I'm sorry.
And
portrayed? he is his real brother.
Yeah, they're blood related.
And that kind of helped the Undertaker because at that time it was the same stuff.
Some shit just seemed to work out for the Undertaker
Yeah.
in every era. Like he went away at right times. He got a new gimmick or a new story that changed his persona at the right time. Like if 1990 to 1994 Undertaker would have been in 2000, he would have been a joke. But somehow that character just evolved and changed with time. Like, okay, this paranormal entity has kind of died out, so I'm going to go away and I'm going to come back on a motorcycle and literally I'm going to have a bandana and wear a bunch of denim and look stupid, but I'm just going to come in and I'm going to kick people's asses, but they're not going to call me anything different. They're just going to call me the Undertaker still.
Yeah. Well, I feel like in that situation, you know, for me personally, growing up, you know, obviously I knew wrestling was a thing, and not when I got into it, but when I would see like it on the TV or whatever it may be, that's just that one person that always stuck out to me, regardless of if it's his name,
Yes,
if it's, you know, anything like that. And I think that's why he may have had that luck too, is because if you have these people that are like, you know, growing up and they view that as the face of their franchise, you know, and like same thing with, again, I'm going to compare it a lot to football because that's what I know the best.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me growing up, obviously I'm going to say that, you know, Tom Brady's the best, right? Best quarterback, you know, and you know, you can't argue with that.
I don't care what you guys think.
You have to say he's the best.
And,
Yes.
you know,
I don't gotta say
but-
shit.
He is.
but,
He is.
but,
And he went to Michigan.
but, you know, later
Fuck
on,
you, Wes.
you know, people growing up now, you know, they're going to look at Patrick Mahomes. You know, they're not going to look at Tom Brady anymore. It's the same things for me. I miss that, you know.
Yeah, the era before us had Troy Aikman,
Yeah.
Dan Marino.
I miss that era. You know, that era is not relevant to me.
It's not really for me either. I'm a little bit older than you, but I didn't really get into football till I was older.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I knew who they were, but
Like, for me personally, I know when I got into
they
it.
haven't been good for like 20 years.
What?
You're a Raiders fan. They haven't been good for 20 years.
That's not true. I got into football right when Jerry Rice was with them, and they were in the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's a good time.
They were in the Super Bowl.
See,
when I
that's-
first started liking the Raiders.
That's actually, you know, pretty funny because I actually didn't really get into football until probably, I want to say, like 2016. I want to say around
Oh,
there.
jeez.
So yeah, I know, not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
But I'm an all Philly sports fan. So a year later, I got to watch them win a Super Bowl. So I was like, hey,
That's not fair.
I'll take it.
That's not fair at all.
Yeah.
Hey, it's fair. It's fair now. We're 4-12, all
You
right.
should have
You know,
suffered.
you
You didn't even know
let
that.
me- you can let me.
30 years of misery.
Listen, we sold our soul to get one, all right.
Jasper.
That's the Undertaker thing.
Donovan McNabb.
I think
Yeah.
what helped
I
him-
did watch that. I did watch the Super Bowl when it was against the Patriots. I mean, I wasn't
Tom
old.
Brady was the greatest of all
Yeah,
time.
I wasn't old enough to actually, you know, appreciate it
Yeah.
really for that part. It was kind of like the Phillies when I was 8 years old.
That's kind of how I was with hockey. Like, I always used to watch hockey,
Mhm.
but I didn't, like, everybody always talks about, like, I'm a Flyers fan, and everybody talks about Lindros and Claire, but, like, I really didn't get, like, I saw the tail end of Jeremy Roenick in the Flyers, but really, like, Danny Briere was my era of Flyers. So, like,
Early
everybody-
Giroux, like
Yeah, Drew,
Simon Gagne.
Voracek, yeah. Well, I mean, he's new, but yeah.
now
yeah.
Voracek's gone.
Yeah, I know. Who was the Czechmonic, the goalie? Roman Czechmonic. So, like, I missed the era of the Lindros, Leclerc, Doom. What do they call them? The Doom
Legion of
Squad?
Doom.
Legion of Doom, right? So everybody always brings it up. Oh, what do you think about Lindros and Leclerc? It's like, I was like fucking 9 years old, man. So,
Yeah.
what do you want me to think?
And that's a generational thing with wrestling as far as like the Undertaker and why I think he's that. And I mean,
But
now
he's transcended generations. He's gone through so much.
What was it? 40
just like
years?
Tom Brady.
Or 30 years? Something?
Well, he started 1990 was his first
30
WWE was
years.
the Undertaker.
Yeah.
The Undertaker became a wrestler in
And
1990.
so-
He was a wrestler before that as being Warwick,
That's when his persona was
but the
started.
Undertaker persona started in 1990.
And what also helped Undertaker was he was different. You know, you're seeing these average Joe type wrestlers who go in with trunks, tights, whatever. This
The
guy
dark
played-
trench coat.
Right. You had your bright yellow trunks Hulk Hogan playing to the crowd. What you gonna do? I hit the fucking phones. The posing and everything. Undertaker didn't do that. He just came to the ring, wrestled, and left. That's what he did. There was no fanfare. There was nothing.
I think part of Taker's thing is, like you said, like if you're a 10-year-old boy and you're watching wrestling in 1990, and that's your guy, and now you're an adult, and you're watching with your son, and your favorite wrestler is still wrestling
Mhm.
somewhat, and that helped Taker was the respect. Us fans went, love him or hate him, that guy's been here for
I mean,
30 years.
that could even be grandson. You could have a grandson that's still
Yeah.
watching Undertaker.
But that helped him, like, the respect of, like, that guy's been
Yeah.
here forever.
I think I don't want to try to get you into something that you're not into. That's just, you're into what you're
Oh, I
into.
would never
But
do that. Yeah.
I think to get a good idea
Oh,
of
you've
what
played wrestling and you can't hang out with us.
I think to get a good idea of what great wrestling is, we need to show you. I'm going to go and say Austin and Rock, the story,
The story, yes.
and
But
then
I would say the best story and the most fun thing to watch is this Tuesday in Texas, and then Royal Rumble to follow, 92. Because you see actually you should watch Survivor Series, then this Tuesday in Texas, then the 92 Royal Rumble. Watch that story, because honestly, that's the most fun story, I think, in wrestling history.
Greatest Rumble of all time.
It's the greatest Rumble of all time. Royal Rumbles are fun. You know what the Royal Rumble is, right? Where
Yeah.
30 guys come in. It's fun to
2
watch.
minutes, yeah.
But throughout that whole thing, they tell a story. And if you don't know it, I can explain it to you. Ric Flair has mini matches with all these guys from
all of
his
his
past,
rivals.
like Kerry Von Erich and Greg Valentine. But he has all these, like Roddy Piper. He has all these kind of like touches in a big match with a bunch of little things. And then at the end, he wins the belt and he cuts this great promo that makes you think this guy loves wrestling. And that's honestly, we didn't even touch on it, but like promos, people being able to talk is a big deal in wrestling because it makes you feel. Again, we talked about the showmanship, the product as a whole, not just the wrestling in ring.
Right.
That's probably, I'd say 50% of it. It's hard to say 50%, but like at least 35% of it is talking, being able to make people feel.
And
Ric Flair was able to do that
so The Rock and Stone Cold
With
Steve
a tear in
Austin
my eye.
fought.
with a tear in my eye. It's a great promo. I mean, you feel like this is legitimately the greatest moment of this man's life.
Even though by then he'd already been like a 12-time
And he
champion.
has like 4 children and he doesn't give a shit about them.
So in the 90s, the Attitude Era, The Rock and Stone Cold and Triple H were the main guys.
Let's not put Honor in
The
there.
Rock and Stone Cold fought at 3 different WrestleManias.
2 years apart each time.
WrestleMania
I said 3.
15,
I don't know why I
17,
showed 3, but
19.
yes.
So
17 is the best.
yes,
17 is by far the best.
that promo for the 3rd match, the video package and everything.
No, promo for the second match. My Way,
Yeah.
WrestleMania 17. That's
That's
the second
true.
match.
Yeah.
The second match was the best.
So
My Way promo is the best.
My Way, Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to mention Limp Bizkit on this podcast.
So that video package is just, it draws you in. Like, I need to see this match. I need to see what's going to happen. So
That's what wrestling is.
Yeah.
Making you want to
So
watch.
I think if you would watch that video and then watch that match, you'd be like, okay, I get it now.
you
Yeah.
want to see the story
I
of
think-
what's going to happen.
I think my point of view is just, I don't understand why there has to be, that crazy buildup. Like, obviously, understand UFC has, the weigh-ins and stuff like that.
Because
But-
so let me just so in Marvel, okay, if
Right.
I don't know which movie, so is it an Avengers movie? If they open the first 5 minutes with Thanos just snapping and everything goes away, and then 10 minutes after that, Iron Man comes and undoes everything, would you be as invested as if it built over 2 movies.
Right. No. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying in the sense of, back to what I was saying with main name fighters and stuff like that. Which is, I'm assuming, what these stories are, right? You build up the stories around your main guys.
Yeah,
but so
sometimes.
why wouldn't you? Why do you have to do all that when, like I said, big thing with Khabib versus McGregor? That those are two.
That's a story too, though.
It is, but it's not
it's
not a forced story.
It is.
It's not.
I think it is.
It's not. He doesn't
Do you know
attack.
who-
He
do you know
doesn't
who
attack.
TJ
He doesn't attack his friend.
Do you know who
Forced.
TJ Dillashaw is and Uriah Faber?
I do not.
TJ Dillashaw was in Uriah Faber's camp, fighting camp, and he left and then became a champion in UFC.
Right.
And then he talked all this shit on Uriah Faber, and then Uriah Faber was like, "How dare you leave my camp and go somewhere else? I'm gonna fight you now." That's a fucking story.
Yeah,
man.
but that's not forced. That's
I
not
don't know
forced.
about
That's
that.
not created.
I think they're best fucking friends, man.
The organization didn't create it.
And
I
that's
don't know about that.
There's no way.
I do think there's a way.
No, but McGregor versus Khabib, that's not forced. You can't force that. They actually hate each other.
Well, but surely, but they did force it because the UFC said, "Okay, we're gonna give you a press conference and we're gonna give you a live mic, and Conor McGregor is gonna talk shit."
But they do
for
that
20
all the
minutes."
time.
But that's what I'm saying. That's how they build their story. That's just.
But that's
different.
real.
That is. You're
that
telling me
is
that all the
real.
shit talk Conor McGregor does is real? No.
Oh, come on.
No,
You don't
that's
know
all
the
a gimmick.
personality.
I do the
No.
same thing. I do the same thing on this podcast. It's
You don't
just
know it.
talking shit
I don't
for the
think
fun
so.
of talking shit.
So
I think he talked shit because he was, and that's the key word,
Was.
was a really great fighter.
Yeah, it was. But he still talks his shit.
Well, that's because
Even though
that's
he's
who
lost.
That's who he is.
Exactly.
That's who he
But that's
is.
telling a story.
But it's
That's
not
what sells the fight.
It's
Look
not
at
forced.
him and Mayweather. He sold that fight. They went on a press tour, town to town. What was that to do?
Well, they didn't need to sell it even.
But they did. That's what they went town
But
to
that's
town.
that's what I was getting at. Is that
They
they,
went
don't
town to
need to
town.
sell it because those are two big names, and you already know that that's
But
going to
they
attract
told a
so many
story.
fights.
They went town to town to tell each story, and everybody watched each one of those press conferences to see what they were going to say about each other, and then watch the fight.
And at the
I'm
same
saying
time,
it's not organizational.
at the
I
same
don't know
time,
about that.
so let's
If
say
it's
they put
individual,
up,
maybe.
I don't know.
let's
about
say they put up these 2 fighters, right, and they didn't do anything. You'd be like, oh, okay, but these 2 are gonna fight.
Yeah,
and
think
they
about the
talk.
undercards. Think about the undercards with 2 guys that you don't know, and they have no story, and you don't really give a shit about it, and they fight, and they go to a draw, and you're just like, okay.
You watch
Okay,
for the
but
main
that's
event,
a draw. What if he just absolutely knocks his shit out?
Okay, but still, are you going to be like, oh my god, I can't believe it? It's just like, oh, that was a good knockout.
Well, I mean, it depends on how the knockout.
But when you see Khabib fucking knock out McGregor or tap him out or whatever happens, well, I mean,
He's
the next
submitted.
fight, the next fight is going to be.
So
could be
not-
retired.
It's not going to be Khabib. Yeah, I was going to say. the next fight.
Mayweather and Paul.
But you want to see what's the guy's name that he just fought?
Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, Poirier. Yeah. You want to see that next fight, right?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't. It's getting.
You do. You do.
No.
You
It's
do.
it's getting into that Fast and Furious type thing, or
But
you're
you wanna
extending
see
it
that-
and you're
that
extending
story.
it. Yeah, it's not really that. It's a story.
It's a story,
You know,
it
it's
is.
not a story. McGregor won one. Poirier won the other. This was supposed to be the fight that determines, I guess, who's really better than the other. And that's really all I think it is. I mean, you can't say that rematches are a storytelling.
It is. They don't have to do it.
Money is a big thing.
No, but
They don't have to do
but they do it.
There are
for
many
their-
people who
but
have
they do
fought
it for their
once, and
pride.
that's it.
What if I was a fighter and I lost to somebody that I know I shouldn't have lost to, and that's my fault, and I want to get back to that point to prove that I am a better fighter than that person? I'm going to want to do a rematch.
And that's a good story.
It's not about
It
the
is a
story.
though.
It's not about the
You just
story.
told me it's.
You can't just make
it's
a
the story.
story up situation out of everything. That's
It
just
is,
generally
though.
what it
That
is.
is the story.
But it's
what
generally
is-
what it is.
let's say Mayweather and Paul, right? Their pictures are up there. Oh, okay. I
Well,
guess whatever.
that was that. You can't use that.
But money is a big thing.
That was just for money though. That wasn't. That's
but-
not a real
yeah.
fight.
It's
So,
like, so it's
to
an
make it
exhibition.
interesting,
Yeah, it's an
to
exhibition.
make it
You can't use that.
interesting, what did they do? Paul ran his mouth.
I don't know.
Well,
Well,
no,
that's just
a Paul
that's an
brothers.
exhibition though. That doesn't count.
And that's just the Paul brothers.
Yeah.
You watch
And-
fights for the main event, right?
And I don't even understand why, because
To make it a main event, they need a story.
Mayweather was getting a lot of heat from that because it was the fact of
I didn't see anything. Once I found out it was an exhibition, I didn't care.
because he was getting a lot of heat from it for the fact of you are this established, well-known boxer. 50-0, undefeated, all of that. Why even bother with a YouTuber? Why even bother?
Yeah.
There's no point.
Who's like 30 years
So
younger than you?
in wrestling, to have a good story, right? A lot of times, so there's pay-per-views, which is every 4 weeks, and then they have Raw and SmackDown weekly, right?
Right.
So for a good story, normally it would be one guy. Let's take The Rock and Stone Cold, for instance. The Rock would come out 1 week, say what he had to say. No sign of Stone Cold. The next week, Stone Cold comes out, say what he needs to say. No sign of The Rock. The next week, they're both in the ring. They don't touch each other. They just face-to-face, get the shit talking out of the way, whatever. The next week is a contract signing, and then somebody goes through that table. Now you want to see what the hell's going to happen. These two are
I understand.
I just think UFC, you're getting off track. I think UFC does have a story because they don't have to have press conferences. When they have NFL games, when they have NFL games, do they put both of the teams in a press conference? They do have interviews. They do have interviews, but they don't put them both in the same room.
They're going to put 52 people in the same room?
They don't put two quarterbacks in the same room or two coaches in the same room. They do it separately. UFC doesn't have to do those press conferences, but they do it to sell tickets. Pay-per-view.
No, I get it. It's the gimmick and stuff like that. But what I was trying to get at originally, and I'm not saying that wrestling doesn't need. No, I will say that they don't need it. And what I'm saying is that I understand from the monetary point of view is that obviously you want to get the money, you want to maximize profits, you want to maximize views, whatever. I understand it. It's the same thing as like the Super Bowl. Everyone knows it's the Super Bowl. Everybody's going to watch it. You're going to advertise it whichever way you want to. You go into a grocery store, you see displays, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I understand it. But I'm saying personally for me, and what the biggest point I was trying to get at is if I see two names as big as Khabib and McGregor, or, I don't know wrestling matchups, I'll just throw two names out there, Undertaker versus The Rock, whether or not that really happened, but whatever. Those are two big names. I'm still going to watch it either way.
Right, that's what we have for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Most wrestling fans are going to watch WrestleMania regardless of... I mean, people buy tickets for WrestleMania before any matches is ever announced for WrestleMania. That's our Super Bowl. But, I'll just go back to the UFC thing. I think I'm sorry, they tell stories.
They don't tell stories. That's real hatred.
But they put it in situation. It's okay.
That's one-on-one. I understand why.
One-on-one,
it is.
But they don't have to have that press conference. They do it. The organization, UFC, Dana White puts that situation there so that we can go, oh, they hate each other. They're talking against each other.
Well, of course they hate each other. They're going to fight each other.
But they don't have to do that.
And your comment with the quarterback, I have that counter argument to it. Yes, when I have a fighter in a press conference versus a fighter, they are going right up against each other. Yes, quarterbacks are the head of the team. Yes, I understand that. But they're not directly going against each other.
Okay, coach versus coach. Coaches are going directly against each other, right?
Right.
But
coaches are the professional viewpoint of that team. I don't ever really see a coach ever talk.
So you wouldn't want to see, going into a Super Bowl, you have Tom Brady versus Pat Mahomes. You wouldn't be more interested if they both got up there at a press conference together and looked at each other and told, I'm gonna
score on your D-heads.
I'm gonna make you look like a fool. I'm gonna make you realize that I'm the greatest of all time, and you're just getting into this business now. I'm the one who's paved the way for you. You're always going to be compared to me. If Tom Brady said this to Pat Mahomes, you're always going to be compared to me, and I guarantee you will not become better than me.
I'll tell you why they don't do it.
Why?
Because football isn't predetermined.
Are you sure about that?
Oh, I'm 100%.
You're telling
not
me
a Super Bowl. Not a Super Bowl.
After 9/11.
Don't give me that. What?
Listen to me.
Where are you going with this?
After 9/11, the Patriots became the best team in football.
Okay? They're not American. No, that's the Cowboys.
No, it's not.
Yes, they are.
Not since the 90s.
They're called the Americans team.
I don't care what they call them. They haven't been the American team since 95. Since Emmitt Smith played for them.
Oh, also they're so great because, it's just after the 9/11 fact. You see the American point of view.
The red, white, and blue.
That breaks your
The red, white,
acknowledgement
blue
of Tom
Patriots.
Brady being the best.
The
Because
red, white,
if that
blue-
was the case, Tom Brady would go to the Bucs and he would have sucked.
because he is the face of the NFL. So we need to
Come
put him.
on.
He was a good face and he plays good. So let's put him.
But he doesn't even need to win a Super Bowl with another team.
What?
He doesn't need to win a Super Bowl with another
Well,
team.
that's besides it. We're done with 9/11 now. They can
Okay,
move on
what?
past that. I'm serious.
I'm saying, yeah, but you're missing what I'm saying.
Patriots,
I'm
America's
saying,
team, because they are America's team.
No,
Who? Okay, how many Cowboys jerseys do you see versus Patriots jerseys?
because they're all bandwagons. Don't
Exactly.
shake their head to that.
And that's what
bandwagons.
America is. America is a bandwagon.
What?
That's what they were in the 90s. Cowboys fans were bandwagon.
I don't know.
Oh, come on, dude. Yeah, you were 2 years old.
I heard the same thing about
No.
after that flood or the Hurricane Katrina, and
Who
then
won?
the Saints won the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
I heard the
Oh,
same thing.
come
the fuck on, man.
Come on.
It's all
That's
a
all
situation. It's all a gimmick and a work, man.
It's all situational because
Our wrestling podcast
it's,
got off the rails.
It's a gimmick and a work. I'm
no,
sorry.
it's because it's
It really
because
is.
no, you can't say
You
that.
were
because
22, right?
This is
You were 22 years old.
this is what I'm saying.
You were 22 years
Hold
old.
on,
How
hold
long
on.
have you been watching football?
Hold on,
Since
hold on.
2016.
Hold on. This is what I'm saying. It goes back to what I said originally in the beginning of this episode that has turned into I don't know what it is. But if I was a football player and I trained all my life to get up to that area, to get up to that league, there is no way in hell am I going to purposely throw the biggest game of my life.
Unless they throw you $15 million for it.
No, because
That's
I'm already
bullshit.
getting
Bullshit.
paid millions.
Bullshit.
I'm already getting paid millions at that point.
Bullshit.
What is that to me?
Bullshit.
What is that? What is that to me?
Money would. Well, okay, maybe it's not 15 million. Maybe it's more than that. I'm
No,
just
they
saying,
don't have that much money to throw
Bullshit.
around.
Bullshit.
No,
Look at it this way. Look
Maybe they
at
tried
it
to kill your family.
Sponsors do.
it's a little different.
Sponsors have that much money.
The mob.
Look at it
Nike
this way,
has that
right?
much money.
You know who John Cena and the Undertaker are, right?
Yes.
You know who The Rock is.
Yes.
They've all lost.
Okay.
You still know who they are. They're still successful.
Okay, but that's
Tom Brady hasn't
But
won every Super Bowl.
because
It
that
seemed that way.
that derives from what I was saying is that they already knew it was predetermined before they were getting into.
Yeah, and so do some of the Super Bowls.
But if you-
And they're not
but-
predetermined.
but
There's no
they get paid
fucking
millions
way.
too.
Do you know how hard it would be? Do you know how hard it would be to predetermine a Super Bowl?
Not very
You
hard
have
when
to
everybody's
rig-
into it.
You have to rig 16 games. 16 games
That's
to get
not
you
that
into a
hard.
situation just to get into the playoffs, and then you have to rig all
No.
the other playoff games.
No, because you're thinking of it as a full term thing. I'm
What?
thinking as
Falcons, Patriots.
Patriots literally cheated and they looked the other way until after it happened. So they let it happen. Who knows how
Because
many
how
other
can you
times?
reverse that?
How many
can you
other
reverse
times?
it?
How can they reverse it?
Yes.
You watch MMA, right? Or we were joking about MMA.
Yes.
CM Punk just got a win because 3 years ago the guy tested positive for a drug test. So
Okay,
they
but
reversed the decision. They reversed the decision.
Okay,
you
but
just said how they reversed it.
no, because
You
let me
just said
finish. Let me
how
finish.
you reverse it.
Let me finish.
You
Because
said-
a Super Bowl, because a Super Bowl, okay, they took this title away, but listen, a Super Bowl, they can take the title away all they want. A Super Bowl, if I am a player and I make it to that Super Bowl level and I lose the Super Bowl and I later find out that that other team cheated and the NFL is like, well, I found out they cheated, so we're going to reverse the decision. Congrats, you're a Super Bowl champion.
Didn't they do it with
Do you
Lance
think-
Armstrong, who's the
But do
supposedly
you
greatest
think? But do you
hiker?
think that is gonna, fuck with me because I got to that level? We should have won, and now I'm celebrating me winning a Super Bowl, sitting on my couch in my underwear eating chips because
Okay.
I just found out that
And
I
then
won the
next
Super
year,
Bowl.
when you make it to the Super Bowl and then you actually win, doesn't that make for a great fucking story? Wouldn't that be a great story? Wouldn't you want to watch that?
No,
It's all predetermined.
it's not predetermined.
You can say that all you want. You don't know.
They don't need to sell a Super Bowl. They don't need
Yes,
to
they
sell.
do.
No, they don't. Bullshit.
There are people who watch
It is the
football.
number one
No.
watched event. Yes, it is.
No,
Yes, it is in America.
but
It's the
there
number
are
one watched
people
event.
who go to watch the Super Bowl because of the stories. There are people who I talked to that watched. What was the lesbian that got fired because she was a coach for like a college team and then she got fired and then she was like a coach for the 49ers. There are people in the LGBT community who literally watched the Super Bowl for that story. And guess how many interviews they did with her? Hundreds.
Okay, so if it is forced, and if it's rigged or whatever you may want to call it,
I wouldn't say rigged.
or predetermined or whatever you want
Yes.
to call it, tell me a Super Bowl team that's won that shouldn't have.
The Patriots.
Is
Literally,
that
the
a-
Raiders.
Why?
The Raiders. The Tom Brady Tuck rule. It happened in 2001, right after 9/11.
I'm saying that team. Okay, and whether if it's a call or anything like that, you can go back to the Saints call where they.
Yeah, wasn't there also one with the Giants?
But what I'm saying is that those teams were good teams. They were built
Okay, just
teams.
'cause
They
they're
were
good, what makes it good?
they were well rounded. And then the players that they have on it, they work together.
Let me put it in this perspective. It's all about money, right? You want to make money.
It's
right?
all about money.
So
It's all about
just
commercials.
listen, right? Let's say it's the Falcons and Patriots, right? Who cares?
Wasn't that a great story?
Who cares if the Falcons win?
Wasn't it a
Everybody
great story
loves the
when
Patriots.
the team came back from 32 to 7 or whatever?
28-3.
Yeah. Wasn't that a great story?
So-
and we still talked about that,
But
right?
WrestleMania.
That's a great story.
Because
It's a great story.
because things in life don't happen that way.
It's a great story.
Because
isn't it?
people don't choke.
It's a great story.
Because the Falcons have proved it. Because later on in
It's
their
a
seasons
great
to
story,
follow, they
isn't it?
continued to cheat it.
But it's a great
They're
story, isn't it?
not continue
So-
to cheat, but continue to choke.
for
But
wrestling,
something you still
right?
talk
You
about.
can't,
It's a
WrestleMania
great
you can't
story.
salvage.
For wrestling,
great story.
WrestleMania is the Super Bowl. You
It's a
want to
great
get money.
story.
To get money, you need stories. That's where the bad guys finally lose to John Cena or The Rock.
You don't
You
need the
draw
money for
them
that. You don't need
So,
money for
You don't
If-
need money. So,
if-
You don't need
UFC,
it.
back to
You don't
UFC,
need it for
right?
that.
These guys are there, right? You're going to watch it regardless. WrestleMania,
Yes.
these guys are there. You're going to watch it regardless. They don't need the press conference.
So here's my thing.
That's
So,
what the sport's always done.
Just using round numbers because they're easy. So here's the Super Bowl, and 80 people are going to watch the Super Bowl every year out of 100. 80 people are going to watch the Super Bowl out of 100 every year. How do we get that other 20%? We tell a story that might make them go, ooh, I want to watch that now. So we have these 80 people no matter what. We don't have to tell a story. They like football. They're like you. I want to watch that no matter what. And you're seeing it. You're seeing it as a football fan's perspective, right? You're going to watch that Super Bowl no matter who's in it. I'm going to watch the Super Bowl no matter who's in it.
Not necessarily true.
I don't know about that.
Not
If you're that big of a football fan, you're going to watch it.
I watch
No matter
the Super
what.
Bowl.
No,
man.
I watch terrible hockey.
No, it really.
I watch
it really,
terrible baseball.
It really depends.
You're going to watch that Super Bowl no matter what.
No, that's not true. That is not true. It really does depend.
It has a
Obviously,
good story or not?
obviously, no.
No, but hold on. So how do we get that other 20 people? We tell some kind of story to get them to go, oh, that's interesting. I want to see if those people win. I'd like to see if Pat Mahomes, who's they say is the new Tom Brady, can beat Tom Brady. So I want to see that. I want to see this kid win.
Oh,
Or
because,
I liked Tom Brady back in the day, and now he's with the new team. So I want to see if he'll win with this team.
because it's a story that the previous Super Bowl champions made it back to the Super Bowl, and a guy that's took a franchise to the Super Bowl X amount of times ends up in the Super Bowl at the
Yeah, it's a
same
good story.
time. That's not a story. It's
Sure
just
it
what
is. You just told it.
It's just what
You just told me the
actually.
story.
It's just what actually
You
happened.
just sold it to me.
But not everything about it's a story.
But it's media, too.
Not everything's
Because
about a
media will
story.
hype that
It
up.
is.
I woke up this morning. I brushed my teeth. That's just what I do. That's not telling a story.
That's boring. But if you tell me that,
What do you mean?
if you tell me a story to make it
But it's not
interesting,
forced. It's not forced.
I don't know.
It's
man. I
not
think it
forced.
is forced.
So,
It's not forced. It's what I naturally do. That team
before this
naturally
goes,
made it to-
before this gets into like a 2-hour, 3-hour long
It's already
podcast
up
already, 2 hours in.
about football, but wrestling, you're not a fan of wrestling. That's all right. I would like you to watch some video
I was
packages.
just gonna leave it at that. I like.
I would like you to watch some video packages, and then you don't even have to watch the whole match. Just skim through it.
Yeah,
And then the last 10
I
minutes-
could show you probably one of the best stories.
The last 10 minutes, look at what the outcome is, and be like, all right, I can see how that can draw people in.
I
But
can't watch the last 10 minutes, but I see where you're
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not.
but-
Backtracking to what all this started with, I'm not saying that stories aren't beneficial to the organization. And as an organization that isn't really a sport, isn't really, a situation where it's competitors going against each other, unpredetermined, just whatever happens at the end of the day is just what happens.
It does happen, all by the way. It's very minimal, but at 1% of the time, people
There's
do
some
go into.
determination.
There is people who go into business for themselves.
Yeah.
It's happened before.
It's all about what sells.
Yeah, and I understand that, from that point of view, I get it. So I'm not going to say that it's. I'm going to say that it's not necessary because it's not. Again, it's back to what I was saying as far as if it's these big names wrestling against each other, you're going to watch it anyway. But I understand why they do it. I understand it's to get the financial aspect up, get people more interested into it. I understand, but it's not necessary.
So Brock Lesnar, right? He used to wrestle a lot. He wrestles maybe once a year now, right? So if that, but
Yeah.
there's always that chance that he could come back. And the guys that he feuded with in the past are now starting to feud together. So you're
That's another the surprise factor. We didn't really touch on that. That's another thing with pro wrestling that's fun. You're never gonna, Colin Kaepernick isn't signed to the Patriots, but he shows up and is going to quarterback for them tonight. Like, you don't get that with real sports. That's no fun. But a surprise factor of holy shit, this guy is here now.
Yeah,
like he hasn't been there. He hasn't wrestled for a year. Where did he come from? Why is he here?
It also doesn't help that now social media is a thing.
I fucking hate social media with wrestling.
In the 80s,
it is the
70s,
worst
80s,
thing in the
and
world.
even some of the 90s, you didn't have rumors going around that so-and-so was going to show up at this time at this place.
Mm-hmm.
So that wrestling fan base,
it's killed wrestling a little bit for me. It really has.
We scroll through Facebook or Instagram. The rumor is there's blah 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 blah, blah, and it's like, oh shit! Now you kind of don't want to watch.
Now you expect it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, except there are false rumors, and you can't believe everything like you said about. Oh well, there's a reliable source says Ric Flair is going to show up tonight. Fuck off in your.
At the same time, those rumors could also lure you in. Like so and so. There's a rumor so-and-so would show up at WWE tonight. Oh, I want to watch to see what that is. So it's kind of like, it's all about money, man. It's all about views. You like what you like. We like wrestling. You like football, hockey, whatever.
Right.
And
golf.
So, and honestly, I don't want to get too much into this because I don't want to start problems, but religion
we're fighting.
Religion is kind of the same way. Like, you like what you like. I'm not going to force you. Obviously,
I would say music more than religion.
But I mean, like, trying to push somebody else's religion is kind of, I don't want to do that. So,
right? No, you're not going to push. You're not going to push this hobby onto me. I think it's more or less just what I pertain to be is interesting. Like we talked about the death match. That's something that I would watch.
So if you say wrestling is fake, right? And,
it's not fake.
And
the difference.
And you don't really give me an answer. You're just like, oh well, just watch it, try to understand it, that kind of thing.
Right.
So my advice to anybody that does not think they're a fan of wrestling,
probably don't listen to our podcast.
Well, yeah, but
I was saying
the people that do like wrestling will lure them to this episode. Hey, these guys touched on some good points. Watch the main things: Hogan, Rock, Stone Cold. Your wrestling friends can show you some good things. Again, you don't have to like it. Just learn about it.
You don't have to learn about it either, though. It's your choice.
It's just I don't like when people say I hate wrestling. It's fake.
You don't have to.
But yeah, but
I don't like tennis. It's boring.
I don't get the whole NASCAR thing.
Oh, I don't get NASCAR, no.
Well,
but again, we don't talk about it.
Right.
We don't talk about it.
Right. I mean, I get that people like it. It's cool. Just not my thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't like cars at all.
Don't go around saying, "Oh, wrestling's fake. I hate it." I don't care. You can think what you want.
NASCAR's fake.
Yeah.
Earnhardt's not even dead.
That's predetermined too. They told who was going to win that race.
Yeah.
They might. I don't know.
Hit the brakes.
Oh, it's a left turn.
That might be true.
Yeah, but before obviously we get too far and branch into another one of these
2-hour episode. Don't go listen.
Trees of the we like wrestling podcast. I do appreciate you inviting me on. I did learn
thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
I did. Go ahead.
It's great having somebody here for an outside perspective, and having you learn a few minor things and
We know you just came on so you could sign the belt. That's all.
Oh. Yeah, I could vandalize this thing. This thing's been sitting in my living room.
Yeah, I know.
This whole time.
Jared hasn't defended it.
I haven't
think
either.
he's gonna
I
have
want
it
it.
very soon.
I won it at the end of last month.
At the end of July?
Yes,
No way.
right before the convention,
Not right before the convention.
like a week before.
Yeah, it wasn't in the bowling. Anyway. Yeah, so my little tidbit, whatever you want to call it, I'll leave here, is the listeners to this podcast, I do say that if you do not like wrestling, obviously don't click on a podcast that says we like wrestling.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, just listening to these guys having their conversations that they do. It obviously, as you've seen, it branches off into different types of conversations. So maybe some of them will spark your interest. So
Yeah, if you just
Yeah.
want to listen to people talk and rant, that's really what this is.
yeah.
It's wrestling fans that are passionate
Sing
about
terrible versions of Judas.
Thank you, Nate, for being a guest on our podcast.
Thank you again.
Outbreak Wrestling, September 18th.
Allentown Convention, September 19th, with Abdullah the Butcher and
Marty Jannetty, Duke the Dumpster Drozy,
uh,
mini Boogeyman.
Well, when's the death match?
Not till
Probably next year,
next
yeah.
summer.
Oh man, that
COVID,
sucks.
man.
Yeah,
That's rough.
Um,
But
I'll try
yes,
to find
we should go,
Yeah.
and it should be live.
it happens.
live.
It happens in like the West Coast a lot more.
Yeah.
Because they have better weather. They
Road
can do it
trip.
outside. Yeah.
I
We'll
think
take Jared's card.
the one time we went on vacation and there was a death match the week before we got there,
Yeah.
and we were bummed. But big thank you to our sponsor, Rise Up Nutrition.
Yeah.
I got Nate onto that.
Oh yeah, it's a great place.
Justin
Yeah.
got me onto that. Great protein shakes, great energy teas. If you just want, they're open every day of the week. If it's a weekend and you're up early and you need some energy, stop by. Grab a
Gets you
tea.
through a day. Definitely gets
They
you
have
through
some
a day.
great flavors. Post-workout, pre-workout. I think they even have they have oatmeal, they have donuts, all healthy, by the way, protein.
And the newest flavor is the blue. What was it? Blue Laffy Taffy.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
stop by there, say hi, let them know we sent you. Again, big thank you to Nate for being a guest on our wrestling podcast, even though he's not a
Blue
wrestling fan.
Airhead. Sorry, Blue Airhead is the new flavor.
It was great chatting with you, even though we got off topic for a while.
That's all right.
No, we didn't get off topic.
Yeah, it was.
That's my topic.
We're doing it again. Let's go.
Big thank you to Ryan Vox and Antonio for putting on the Legends of Hamburg and Outbreak show. Again, Legends of Hamburg is July 23rd, 2022. They already have a date set. They're already bringing people in. It's great, man. It was a great time. Thank you to Chris for being our guest. I can't thank him enough. I can't talk highly enough about him. Great guy. He really was just one of the guys as soon as he joined us. But thank you to everybody who listens. Thank you to the wrestling fans for being wrestling fans. It's a great time to be wrestling. We're wrestling on every night of the week right now.
Yeah, there really is.
And again, before COVID hits again, get out, do what you enjoy doing, have some fun, live life. We'll see you next time.